From Carolla One Studios in Glendale, California, this is the Adam Carolla Show. Adam's guest today, cardiologist, heart surgeon, and the author of The Energy Paradox, Dr. Stephen Gundry. With Gina Grad on news and Bald Bryan on sound effects, and now, in Alaska, he got up close and personal with a bear. He also saw some grizzlies. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice but to get a mandate. You get it on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend. We love that about you, right, Gina Grad?
That's right.
And Bald Bryan.
Great.
All right. So back from Alaska. Plenty of stories to tell about Alaska.
I have to say, I think I passed the point in my life where I get jealous of a lot of things. I was sort of seething for 5 days. I was so jealous.
It is breathtaking.
Yeah.
But, it's not, half of it is the topography of it, the beauty of it, the natural surroundings and all that stuff. I think maybe Texas could fit in there 3 times, so I hear.
What?
It's that
3 times, fool!
Maybe 2.5 or 3. I don't know.
Man,
Mike said 2. The audience said 3.
Those little maps where they show like a tiny little Alaska and a tiny little Hawaii off to the side really don't do it justice.
No, it's vast. It's spectacular. It's the takeaway that you get from Alaska is more the mindset of Alaska. Yeah, Texas 1.5 times. I don't think it's 3 times, but at least according.
It's much bigger than we're led to believe.
Well, it's twice. It has Texas has 270 square miles, 70,000 square miles, and Alaska's got 663.
Yeah, so by the math, it would work out more than twice.
More
but
than twice.
The way Alaska's kind of configured with
the way it looks, it doesn't look right. But yes, more than twice. We'll just go 2.5. Anyway, there's things. It's the mindset. Everybody who passes everyone on the road waves to everyone on the road. Mm-hmm. So if you're driving and their car's coming the other direction on the highway, it's the wave.
Hey, how you doing?
Everyone gives the wave. The next thing is general freedoms. Like, at some point when they were like, well, we're going to go out and drive the ATVs. And I'm from California, so what are the rules? Now, if you're from the inner city of Chicago, there are no rules in terms of ATVs. But if you're a taxpayer, there's going to be some rules. Right. So, what are the rules? And I'm like, ride wherever you want. And I go, well, yeah, but
use common sense.
What about the main highway? And it's like, don't ride in the middle of it. Just kind of stay to the side a little bit, and then the cops will leave you alone. So
Pleasure Island.
So everyone just sort of leaves everyone alone because that's why people came there. Not a lot of Karens in Alaska.
What's the homeless and graffiti situation like?
It's zero as far as I could tell. Wow. where we were, but we traveled about a little bit. So couple thoughts. First, a backtracking and some cleaning up from a few days ago because Gio sent me an email when I was railing against Dr. Drew, not giving any money to the charity. Mm-hmm. And was it...
clarification?
Was it Katrina? It was the tsunami relief.
Oh, yes. It was the
Thailand.
Sri Lankan,
Yes. And then an interesting insight into my mind. I have a recollection of cutting a sizable check, but I certainly didn't want to be the guy saying I gave $10,000 and find out I gave $2,000 when somebody corrects me because they've heard...
Right.
The episode. So I was saying 10,000, maybe 5,000.
10 plus 5.
Again, because I did not want to over exaggerate.
That's no good.
And no one, I don't like hyperbole, and I don't like getting caught in saying here's how generous I was through the fog of time, and then find out I gave $1,500. I gave $15,000.
Whoa!
Now that's fine. That's back in 2005 bucks, but the main point is how my stupid brain rounded it the other direction.
Yeah, probably adjusted for inflation.
I took off a full 10 grand from what I actually gave, but I gave 15, and that was to Mike Shinoda and Brad Delson. Yeah, okay. Hoobastank and Lincoln Park were the two guys that were in there for that.
And what did Dr. Drew give?
He gave nothing, but he gave something to his charity.
Okay.
Which now that amount has to be way under $500, but that's how it worked. He gave to his charity.
He knows where it's going.
He knows where it's going.
That's right.
All right. So just a little clarity on that. Now, so we traveled to Alaska. We landed. I don't know where we landed. We didn't land in Bristol Bay, did we? I mean,
Anchorage,
the
right?
airport.
In King Salmon?
Yeah, well, we landed in Anchorage, and then we went to King Salmon, I
right.
guess, from there.
It's called King Salmon, Alaska.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's very military based. So
Okay.
because everywhere else was called like the Neck and the Katmai and all.
Okay.
Like the natives named it, but then King
like
Salmon.
we're from sunny Palm Tree,
Yeah.
California.
King Salmon's where the base was and
Okay.
everything.
Right. So we landed. We took a 5-minute ride to the lodge. It was as you would expect a lodge to look. It was nice, not overdone. Just
Some nice taxidermy.
all you needed. They had some moose antlers and things like that spread about. One of the highlights of the trip is they had a guy who was a frequent guest, who was a singer-songwriter. It was more of a covered tunes, played the acoustic guitar. Every night after dinner, he would set up
Nice.
and delight the crowd. But Dawson and Max Zapata got up
Ooh,
there
they set in?
Ooh,
as well.
featured.
Both played a set and blew away the crowd. I mean, really,
Wow.
they were all into it. It was there's a picture of Dawson. Dawson playing.
Dawson, you are all man.
Apparently, after the first night we played, word got around the town that there were musicians in town.
Yes.
So a whole bunch of people showed up to the lodge the next night to see us play.
Wow.
Now you're committed.
You attracted a following.
Yeah, there's the population there's 300.
Yeah,
Wow.
but it was nice. It was nice to have the guys playing.
Did Chris do all the covers? Did he do the list of things you told him to do all these years?
This is a finger popping
No,
song for
he
y'all.
did not. But he wowed the crowd. The crowd was absolutely wowed.
That's
Like,
awesome.
People were coming up to he and Dawson after the show, coming in to see them specifically.
Wow.
It was a wonderful wonderful
got
way
some
to
celebrity up there.
spend an evening.
very cool.
We would meet in the lodge at 8 a.m. to get our fishing together for the next day.
Sure.
Yeah,
as you
typically
do.
when you go fishing, you wake up at the butt crack of dawn because you want to get as much daylight as you can. But with Alaska, it's all
all daylight.
You
All
can
dawn.
sleep in and then just go fishing whatever you want.
When did it get dark, and how dark would it get? And you missed it because you were asleep during that time.
I caught
Dawson
one.
didn't
Dawson
miss
will
it.
know. Yeah.
Dawson, everyone else went to bed, so you tell us.
It never gets completely dark.
So it's always
It did not
dusky.
get. There's very dusky. I got some pictures I'll send to Chris. We can put up of what nighttime looked like.
Was that so confusing for your brain?
It was like
Magria helped.
it was like 1:30. It would finally kind of get dark-ish, and then maybe 4:30 or 5, it was just light again. So there was no real nighttime.
The first night or two, were you just like, my body tells me it's time to party?
It's kind of
no.
it's kind of weird walking into. It was weirder. The weirdest part is when we landed in Anchorage and we took an Uber and we went to the hotel and we got there at like 12:30 and it's light outside.
12:30 midnight.
Sorry. We've been traveling all day, but it's still light. And then at some point you go into the bar in the lobby and the guy's telling you it's last call and it's light outside.
That was mimosa
It's-
time.
There's rooster
Yes.
crowing.
Right. Had a funny, we'll get back to Alaska, but had a funny experience with Mike and the Uber driver when we were going to, and it kind of explains the chapter that we're at now in our society, which is we are going from Anchorage, from the hotel in Anchorage on Wednesday to the airport. We're going to take that flight into King Salmon. And we're not cutting it close, but we're doing what we always do. We didn't allow a whole lot of wiggle room in there. And it's me, Sonny, and Mike standing outside, and the Uber guy's going to pull up in 1 minute. And the Uber guy pulls up. Bad sign. He's wearing a mask alone in the car.
Oh, boy.
And then Sonny, who's a big boy now, and I get into the back of this smallish Honda, and Mike gets into the front because we've been doing that for a while now. The three of us, Mike normally jumps into the front, and we jump in the back.
Helps navigate.
The guy tells him no passengers in the front.
Oh, wow.
Mike explains that we've been in many Ubers where he's welcome in the front seat. The guy says, nope. Meanwhile, we have a week's worth of luggage already in the trunk. And Mike goes,
I guess the scam is over.
we're not going to pack ourselves into the back seat. And the guy is belligerent. He's a fucking dick. And he's like, but interesting. I've told you guys about the minimum wage gilded cage. This guy who's on the lowest rung of society, he's
power.
driving Uber in Anchorage.
Yeah.
That's a pox a gypsy puts on you. May your son drive an Uber in Anchorage. It's a gypsy pox. It's a spell. He's the lowest on the fucking rung, but he's like telling all of us to buzz off. Like,
Second lowest. The guy with the Ralph's car on the keychain in Anchorage is apparently, according to Gina, lower.
Yeah. Oh, that's humiliating.
So he tells us to all go fucking pound sand and to fuck off, which is a perfect metaphor for my minimum wage gilded cage. You have guys
He has
that
all
are
the power.
He has all the power. He has he has nothing but power. He has nothing but dominion. You know what I mean? He doesn't
of
have
course.
he doesn't have an account.
That's
he doesn't have
his
a car.
fiefdom.
He doesn't have anything, but he does have this one thing.
Yeah.
And I was saying to Mike after he booted us out.
You
and
literally got booted out.
He told you to pound sand, wherever that is.
Mike told him to fuck off when he told us not. There was no riding in the front seat.
Wow.
Mike begged me after we got all our luggage out of the trunk to leave the trunk open. Because I have morals and scruples,
love
closed
him.
the trunk.
Yeah.
And also because I didn't want to deal with the guy getting out of
Circling
the
back
car.
and- yeah.
Plus, it's Anchorage. He could be packing. You know what I mean?
Easily.
He was a youngish, middle-aged, youngish, foreign guy. He just had sort of a wacky name. I don't know where he was from. And he took off. He drove 50 feet and he stopped and he sat there for a while. And I later learned that's so he could write a super shitty review.
Oh, good.
About
Chris?
Mike or Chris.
No, this wasn't my Uber.
Oh,
I
good.
was already on another one.
Right. But he drove down the parking lot about 30 feet and then just stopped and sat in his car for a while. So he was definitely wanting to get to the review while he was fresh. Mike said, I'll call another Uber. I was like, aren't we a little pressed for time? And this is Anchorage, and are these Ubers
plentiful.
all
Yeah.
over the place? And he goes, no, we're going to get a guy. He's going to ride in that front seat. He's going to...
Hopeful.
Sure enough, the guy's name is like Dave. He's like 70 years old. He pulls up in a Ford, an American car. He pulls up. Mike just leans in the window and goes, can I ride in the front? He goes, yeah, hop in.
I can ride
Get on my
that.
lap.
Jump in. He's not wearing a mask alone in his car, which was just a good sign. He tells Mike to hop in. There's no discussion about front seats. He's a retired Bush pilot who's been out there since 1980.
That's your guy.
He turned out, I thought it was all going to go wrong. I thought we'd never get another Uber. We'd miss our flight. We'd get this guy's cousin who was equally as angry. We got the nicest retired dude on the planet pulled up. We all piled in, and off we went to the airport.
Did you tell him you were in a hurry? Did you haul ass? Because that completes the the oeuvre of Dave.
He literally pulled up 90 seconds after
nice.
this guy, the first guy, was dispatched, which is it just falls under the heading of it either all goes right or it all goes wrong. It was either. I just said, Mike, you've never been more right in your fucking life. We got the super courteous old timer who came up and said, hop in front. We all took off to the airport in a slightly nicer car 90 seconds later, or it was all going to go south and we're going to miss our flight. But I did say, when you give dumb people power, and that's what we're dealing with. That's what I just dealt with the TSA in Denver. I said on the podcast, we all just, Sonny and I walked into clear, sailed right through. Person never even looked up. TSA guys like, go on, enjoy your flight. Right. In Denver, we had the Dumbo who liked his power. Sure. And it's dangerous to give a bunch of dumb fucks a ton of power because they fuck your shit up. And they're not used to it. When you give Guys, if you ever see the way a guy like Mark Geragos conducts himself around people he has power over, he's not a douche or a bully. He knows how to, because he earned his way up to that rank. The guy who's the Uber driver just got shoved to the front of the power line, even though he has no real juice.
Right.
He is in charge of us.
He's in charge of his car.
That one moment.
It's the lottery principle.
Yes, it's like
You give someone much money who hasn't figured out the tools to earn that money.
I'm gonna, but my first buy is my initials on the side of the car in rainbow tape, right? And then I'm gonna buy, my aunt a snowmobile. Like these are the ways. Yes, you do not know how to handle money. You do not know to handle power.
Yeah.
If you're in Alaska, though, that's a good buy.
Yeah, it's
That's
true.
a snowmobile for the ants.
So we made it to the airport. We got to the lodge. Drinks were flowing. Everything was great.
It looked pretty sweet from the
It
pictures
was
they posted.
it was definitely sweet. We took
It was nice triangulating your weekend between you, Chris, and and Jen. I was able to get a really good picture of what was going on up there.
I told Jen, post as much as possible.
Chris got into the river, the knick-knack, the knack-knack, knack-knack
Paddywhack.
river with me
Oh yeah.
on
saw
the
you
last
in.
day of the trip. Yeah, I think
Adam got in one morning. He just went in alone.
Oh, you're neck deep.
Wasn't Nick Nack a Cosby kid? Was he?
Brian.
I don't
I'm serious.
know.
I thought he was.
I don't remember the names of all the Cosby kids except for
Mushmouth.
Fat Albert, Mushmouth. Yeah, we walked down to the dock.
That's
I just
crazy.
got into this river.
Brutal.
The river was coolish outside and a little windy, but the river was 53, 52.
Yeah, it's like 52.
52.
Yeah.
Which is brisk.
Shrinkage.
Not as cold as my cold tub. So I said, well, it's not as cold, but there's like a current and stuff. But went out in the river, swam around, and then the next day, Max Pattis said, I'm coming.
I had to.
Yes.
And
Did you?
Yeah, it's you're in Alaska. It's just
When in
nature.
Alaska?
I have to be one with Alaska for a little bit.
Were you naked?
I wasn't. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered if I was or not. We went on a much windier day, so like the current was really pulling. Adam went in first, and I wanted to jump in, but he just kind of walked in. And I thought, all right, I'll
Held
just.
hands.
He knows what he's doing. Yeah, you can put that. But, by the way, here's a picture of it of the dock out there that we went out onto, and this is midnight.
Holy crap.
Okay, so this, for anyone else, this looks like 4 o'clock in the winter.
Yeah, the sun's about to set.
Yeah, a little dusky.
Yeah.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know what? I would imagine, just psychologically, that this reduces a lot of crime.
Oh, the light.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I
Can't
would
get
have-
away with all shit in the dark.
I would imagine. And then everyone
winter, on the other
owning a
hand.
gun and being white also
right.
helps
Yeah.
reduce the crime just a little bit.
Right.
Because everybody's packing.
Half the
So,
people already being on the lam.
That's true. They're all under the radar.
so
Yeah,
Adam,
so when Adam went in the first time, I was watching him do it just to kind of gauge like how cold it'd be. He just went in, he's like, it's not that bad, and then just walked right in. So that kind of helped me get
Conditioned.
in the next day.
You're not the kind of guy who would know this off the top of your head, but how many states have you now not visited? Because Alaska is, the final frontier. That's a hard one for some people.
yeah, I haven't kept track, but I suppose Mike and I could just go over my stand-up calendar and we could find out.
I feel like maybe Delaware.
Probably
Yeah.
parts of
That's
the
about it.
plains and
Yeah.
probably some of the south.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, Alaska is, now when people say, they say this about Australia, they go, oh, you got to go once. You got to go one time.
Sure.
They don't seem to say that about a lot of places, but they'll say it about Australia. You got to go.
You gotta see for
You just got to
yourself.
go once.
Yes.
I will say that about Alaska. You should go. You've got to go once. It takes a little bit to get there. It's like 6-hour flight, 5.5-hour flight. We unfortunately had a layover in Seattle for some time. It took us a little while to get there and back. But catch the direct
Worth
flight. Go. You can land in Anchorage in about 5.5 hours, and then it's like a 40-minute flight on a real full-size jet, by the way, not like a puddle jumper or regional, to King Salmon, or go wherever you want in Alaska. But the point is like, just go there once. It's it's not. I mean, the air's great, and the region's great, and the view is great, and everything. There's bald eagles, soaring in the sky, and salmon, going upstream, and all that. Bears out in the woods
plucking.
and everything. But it's really just the people. The people there are great. There's no complaining. There's no discussing. There's no, well, I wanted to, or I was thinking of, like, the guides are these great. The guides are the greatest. I mean, just pulling the boat in a windstorm, backing up the truck, getting on the trailer,
your
pulling in.
guys.
Like, they just do it all. It took 5 minutes. Like, it's just a hearty group. And if you have a thought, like if your thought, and I always say this, like, if you go, oh, L.A., oh, those Beverly Hills people, oh, they're such phonies. Oh, I hate dealing with those phonies or those Hollywood types or whatever. If you don't like that, then this is the place with the exact opposite of that. The human beings are 100% different than that. Everybody we saw, everyone we met, everyone everyone just waves at each other. The guy took us hunting, or I should say shooting, the guy's wife, a pilot that flew the float plane, like they're all the same people.
So you did get in the float plane.
I got in the float plane, and we took the float plane to the falls. The thing about the float plane is it's always two things. For some reason, they feel obligated to announce the year the plane was built. Like,
I could do without
I don't want
that.
to know.
That's a Guston, 1953.
I'm
It's like,
good.
I haven't flown in a plane earlier than 1985 in a long time, but that's from the 50s. That's
don't like
before
it.
they had jet commercial.
Right.
So they always announce the age is. I'm the oldest guy there, and that thing was made a good decade before I was born.
It was made to fight in Korea.
Right. Or maybe be a surveillance plane in Korea.
At least it had a couple of rafts on the bottom.
So you get into the plane that's as old as your parents.
You all piled in there?
We all piled in. And then, I don't want to be this guy, but I have seen many movies where they had float planes involve them. They've never landed successfully. At some point, we're going to be on an island. Chris is going to have a compound fracture. He's not going to make it through the night.
Deciding who to eat.
And I'm going to be warding off a grizzly bear with a torch. That's how they always start with, hey, we're going fishing. This
You're
is going to
have
be awesome.
tibia in your hand while running off.
Right. There's one of us is not going to make it through the night. That's how it's going to work. So it was weird that I had every single movie that ever had a float plane in it. They never landed. Not successfully, but you. Now the thing that's crazy about the float planes is there is no airport or landing strip.
Right.
There's just these giant bodies of water. So you just kind of taxi out. And there's other float planes like coming in while you're going out or going past, but no one's really like waving at each other or talking to each other. It's just kind of understood. Here's where we're going.
Was it a rough descent?
The descent was a little choppy, but they pop up so fast because the wings aren't swept. They're an above the fuselage kind of wing. Like they have a ton of lift. They don't fly very fast. So if you want a plane to fly fast, you need the wings to sweep and be back at an angle and not create a ton of lift. But if you want to go just straight across the top, he throttled it up on the lake. We got going 50 miles an hour, maybe several hundred feet, and then just popped up. You pop up.
Anybody freaked out or at least admit it?
No. Then you just fly over tundra and mountains and lakes and just nothingness, the most beautiful scenery you've ever seen in your life. And then you come up to the lake that's next to the island where the bears are, and he just brings it down and just kind of feathers it it just does a flare right at the end, just lifts it up and just sets you right down. It's perfect. This guy's done it a million times.
Smoother than any other plane like that I've landed that I've been in.
Yes, you think it was going to be a little hairy. It's not. I was sitting up front, so I was like checking the guy's gauges the whole time.
Sure, you like that.
Backseat flyer.
Yeah.
The guy did yell at me because there was a mosquito in the plane. and it was on the windshield right in front of me, and I tried to whack it with my hat.
Oh yeah, put your fist through it.
And the guy goes, "That's plexiglass. You shouldn't do that." And then he goes, "Do the pinch technique." And I was like, "I don't know the pinch technique." And he just reached over and just pinched it between his forefinger and his ring finger. Just
Real man.
pinched it and just threw it on the ground.
Probably could have guessed what the
Later
pitch
on,
technique
mid-flight, a giant scary spider popped out onto the windshield too from a little hiding place on like the A-pillar. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to panic the group. But you fly at about 1,000 feet once you're up. 1,000, 1,100 feet. I was looking at the altimeter. I'm assuming it was 1.1 or something like that. So it seemed like about 1,000 feet. Fly about 90 miles an hour, maybe 100 miles an hour, and then you just sort of come in. It was about a half-hour flight. You land down there. Once you get on,
I don't see a pilot in that plane.
Once you get on the island, then you start walking for a little while.
How do you get off the plane?
They just push it right up to the shore. And you walk across the pontoon, and you just take a little jump onto the shore, try not to get your feet wet. Then you go to a sort of a base camp where they give you a little spiel about bears and what do's and don'ts.
What are the don'ts?
Don't haze the no. They tell you
do haze them
bear.
if they come at you. Don't run. If you run, your prey. They'll go after you. Walk the other direction. If you see them. And there was bear scat all over the place. So on the trails, on all the main trails and stuff. So the bears go down to the falls. Falls are about 5-6 feet high. They just stand in the river.
I thought they shit in the woods.
Yeah. Well, they shit by the trail in the woods.
Yeah, weirdly they aim for the trail a lot. Like it's all in the trail.
Just let you know who's boss.
Sorry being hazed.
Did you see the moment? Did you see a bear pick up a salmon out of the water?
No, we saw no salmon, just bears waiting for salmon standing on top of the waterfall the whole time.
Everyone kept saying the salmon are a week late.
Right.
So
The bears are going to starve.
But the bear would just, the big alpha would stand at the top of the fall. The mama and the two cubs had to keep a safe distance and were always an eye and a nose out for the bear.
You saw cubs.
Oh, yeah. There was a big kind of alpha male. He was just the biggest, and he just stood on top of the falls.
Yeah.
He just stood there. There'd be like a medium-sized male that'd be downstream, just a couple of feet, just on the bottom of the fall.
lieutenant.
And he might just sit in the water
Consigliere.
there.
Yeah.
One just sat on a rock for a while, like a dog sitting down by a door wanting to go out. Then there was the mama bear and her two cubs, and the cubs just followed the mama bear everywhere.
Did they frolic?
They ran from the big bear whenever they got to walk. Their head is on a swivel, constantly looking for the big guy.
Oh wow!
If they run into the big guy's going to eat a cub. I imagine. So
that's what I heard happened.
You're right. So
no.
Mama would just be down the stream, but always with an eye up toward the alpha male who was at the top of the thing. And as long as they kept this kind of 200-foot buffer, they were okay. Wow. Then at some point, Mama would go to shore, and the cubs would follow her, and they'd be hanging out. But then Big Bear would come wandering around, and they'd hustle.
Time to get out
of there.
So like gorilla and bears are fucking assholes. Like they're the ones that like kill the cubs, that kill the babies.
Yeah, I'm not an expert, but from the body language of the mama and the cubs. The cubs knew they had to stay next to mama, and the mama knew she had to stay away from the male alpha bear.
Like they would be fishing. I guess, Adam, before we got there, some of the people said that they actually caught the mama and the cubs caught a few fish. And then they were like 200 yards or 100 yards from the falls, and if the big bear would even just look in their direction, the mama bear would freeze.
Oh my god!
And just be totally alerted. And then if it took a step forward, they would just scamper away.
Did you get in trouble when it was revealed that you had a cub in your coat on the way back?
They weren't that cubby. They were clearly juveniles, but they were not, little
playful
teddy bear.
Little roly polies.
Yeah.
No, they weren't roly polies. They were able to go out in the stream and sort of hang out. Saw some anglers down the stream, couple 100 yards, just walking across the stream, like 3 dudes with their fishing poles. I don't know who those dudes are.
I don't either. And then that's why I thought it was crazy that the next day we hear like, oh, bear swipe at Brooks Falls. Like somebody got swiped by a bear.
Yeah, so you go up on a kind of a landing on these pilasters. You're only about 5 or 6 feet above the action, but you're in a sort of raised position, and it's a sort of observation, go to the edge, stand on this thing, look down at the bears, take pictures and all that kind of stuff. There was a funny exchange and an interesting piece of, kismet that went on. I'll tell you what, we got more to talk about. Let me get to Tommy John. That's right, Tommy John.
Hope you had your Tommy Johns.
Oh, yes, I did. That's what I wore into the river
Smart.
Every day because I did not want to go naked because the boy and the prying eyes of the people in the lodge were there. Also because of getting out of the water at 52 degrees is not what you want when you're nude. I did not want to go in my trunks, my basketball shorts, because they take 2 days to dry in that weather. So I went in my Tommy Johns because I could just hang them out over the shower, and the next day they'd be dry so I could hop back in the lake with them again. So they dry fast. They keep you 2 to 3 times cooler than regular cotton. Dozens of comfort and innovations like breathable, lightweight, moisture-wicking fabric. Tommy John doesn't have customers. They have fanatics. And I told you I will not travel without these things. It's the best pair you'll ever wear. It's free. Guarantee. Right, Dawson?
Right now, get 20% off your first order at TommyJohn.com/Adam. Go to TommyJohn.com/Adam for 20% off. TommyJohn.com/Adam. See site for details.
Oh, you got a picture of me jumping off the float plane.
Yeah, Adam, we all just took it 1 foot in the water and just figured, okay, one of our feet are gonna be wet. But Adam decided to jump.
That's some Dance with the Stars shit.
I made it dry, man. I made a 4 or 5 foot leap. I ran down the pontoon. And just leapt for the shore because I didn't want to dunk the foot in the cold lake because then you're just going along the whole rest of the soggy foot.
Adam was an animal this whole trip. He got out after the cold plunge, just gets up onto the docks, looks into the sky, and just goes, "Wolverines!"
I forgot I did that.
I did see pictures of all of you holding fish. Did you each catch those fish?
August did not.
Oh.
August caught no fish.
Why is he holding 2?
Hey, give me those fish.
August caught no fish.
So this is your first time fishing, right?
I've been fishing with Jimmy a few times and really caught anything. We'll get to that because it's interesting. I didn't know we did a kind of a fishing that I was unaware of. I'll put it to you that way. Take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Alaska right after this.
It's time to check Adam's voicemail.
Hey Adam, this is Jeremiah in Virginia, and I was driving down 95 the other day, and I saw a road sign that said, "You're not a firework, don't drive lit." Get it on.
You can leave us a message at 888-634-1744.
Yeah, I got something to say about that, but I'll tell you after the Alaska. Chris will remind me about the situation on the 101. It was we went out fishing the first day. We caught nothing. We went after king salmon, I think, or maybe we went after rainbow trout.
It was king salmon, yeah.
It didn't matter to me. We're sitting in a boat, bald eagles overhead. It was so goddamn majestic. I think the guides were a little frustrated because they're over the whole majesty of the thing. Right. They want to catch fish. I was just enjoying the outdoors and the boat ride and the lake and how clear it was.
They were kind of upset and almost like embarrassed that we weren't able to get anything the first day. And these guys go fishing 7 days a week. The guy that took Dawson and me out, we asked him like what he does. He fishes every day. And then what about winter? You stay? He's like, yeah, I stay here. And what do you do if you can't fish? Like, oh, I got the fishing channel. And like, so if he's not fishing, he's just watching the fishing channel.
I got an aquarium in the lodge.
Got that life.
So the next day, we found out that the sockeye were running, which are not the king salmon. They're a smaller salmon.
like a sockeye.
But the sockeye salmon were running, and if we went to this place up the river, we could get into a cove, and we could catch them. Now, what I didn't know is the way you catch the sockeye salmon just run right along the bank all the way up. The fish are nuts. They start in Bristol Bay. They start out in the bay or at sea. And you guys all know the story. And then they go all the way up all the streams and the tributaries. But you got to know how far these fucking fish travel, because we went down to Bristol Bay, and that was a long ride where they come in. And then when we went up, I'm saying up and down, I don't know if it's down and over or up, but we went to Brooks Falls, and that's a plane ride. So the point is the salmon start way the fuck down there and go all the way up, and they end up in the mouth of the bear at the top of the miniature waterfall up there.
Oh, what a letdown.
So the sockeye were running. Now, the sockeye are, good size. They're,
2 feet, 2.5 feet?
They're anywhere from 16 inches to 25 inches, and they're anywhere from 4 pounds to 10 pounds. But they're good sized fish you've seen in the picture, and it's good eating and all that stuff. And you go to this cove, and you can see them literally just all going up the stream, and they go they're about 10 feet from the shore in water that's like 3, maybe 4 feet deep, and you just see them running. You just see them going. It's just a steady stream. And I said
they're going upstream, so like they're moving pretty fast, like trying to swim, but their speed they're swimming upstream is pretty slow. So you're just watching.
Right, against the current.
And then I said, "No, what are we using? Lures or bait?" And they're like, "No. Once they leave the bay, they don't eat." I don't know, probably something to do with spawning, but there is no eating for this entire. You couldn't imagine expending more energy and not eating.
Yeah,
It'd be like it'd be the equivalent of you saying, "I'm going to run 9 Tour de France's in a shopping cart, but there'll be no granola bars like the entire time." Like,
not interested.
They don't eat, but they have to swim hundreds of miles up a stream against the current.
Right.
So what you do is you cast your line in there and you sort of drag it. It's kind of fly fishing. You kind of drag it and you hook them. Your hook, which is just floating free with no bait or no lure or anything, just hooks them. As
they don't bite. You just grab them.
It's just kind of fish in a barrel.
They don't bite. You grab them. And I was like, that seems kind of weird, insane.
Not very sportsmanlike.
But it started working, and then it started working pretty fast, and everyone was pulling them up, but not Mike. Mike stood on the boat, and you can see the stream of them going right by, and the guy to his right and the guy to his left, everyone was catching fish, and Mike wasn't.
Hey, Mike, he's talking about you fuck ass.
Yeah, so Gina, we had to put on waders where it's like these overalls that kind of cut off at the chest.
Like rubber,
so you can get into the water. Everybody was in the water going, but Mike decided to stay on the boat.
Oh, well, there you go.
Well, but no, people were on the shore. Dawson was on the shore. There was Jen was on the shore.
Yeah, but the fish knew he wasn't into it. He wasn't giving his all.
We conducted a little experiment. So after about 3 hours of Mike catching nothing, and Dawson had pulled up 5 at that point.
7 at that point, 5.
5. He was just pulling them up one after the other, and so was everybody. Sonny and Jen and Chris. Everyone was pulling them up. Mike, literally nothing, with everyone around him, had pulled up at that point. We'd pulled up 23 fish between us, and Mike accounted for 0. So at some point, he said, "I'm getting off this boat, and I'm going to go stand where Dawson stood," because Dawson was pulling them up all day. And then he went and stood where Dawson stood. And Dawson, did you go onto the boat, or was that Jen?
No, I just moved down a little bit. Chris went up on the boat.
And then whoever replaced Mike on his position on the boat started pulling him up. But Mike still never got one. And at some point at the end of the day, when we got near our limit, the guide hooked one and then handed the pole.
Like you went for a little girl who's like crying on the shore.
It's like you take your daughter to the seafood or to the sushi restaurant, they put the little rubber band around the chopsticks.
It was exactly that.
How embarrassing.
It was like from the Make a Fish Foundation. Here, little boy. Here, little terminal
done.
boy.
Good.
Make a fish.
Yep.
And he just handed him the pole, and Mike so technically caught half a fish. But so we did all that, and then came back, and everyone was in a good mood, and the guys went to the fish house and just filleted all the fish.
Those fish.
I
like
yeah,
that.
I got some in my. I got a lot in my freezer because we got the cooler from the airport and all that stuff. Comedy served one up that night for us to enjoy dinner. Yeah, they put them all in the vacuum seal. Wow. Beautiful, like a hue of orange and pink that you're not used to seeing in the supermarket. So fresh, so whatever, and served it up for us for dinner along with the moose you see beneath us.
What?
Oh yeah, moose.
Oh wow,
that's moose.
There's
moose.
Yeah, moose steak.
How is that?
Of the lodge.
Well, we'll get into that.
Oh my God! Please don't skip that.
The comedy is after being surrounded with salmon for 3 days. Went to Geragos' wedding on the 4th of July. Salmon.
Oh,
and by the way, not salmon or Salisbury steak. The dinner, the plate was brought to the table, was a big chunk of salmon. That is it. It was good. I didn't want a lot to do with it. I was looking for some like ribs or something, but salmon is what they serve.
It's like in Castro when Tom Hanks came back and they threw the big party for him. And
with the crab.
The whole feast was seafood. Yeah, crab legs and whatnot.
Moose is... It's got a little
moose.
It's a little gamey. It's got a little beef with a little liver finish to it.
Really reminded me of liver. Like if there was anything to compare it to, is they're kind of livery and gamey, but still a little closer to beef as well. So it's like a mixture of the two.
What was the texture?
Livery.
So it was kind of soft.
Livery, beefy.
Yeah,
it was kind of both.
A
little greasy, a little dark.
You're not going to come back and go, God, I could really go through some
gamey.
moose again.
No, none of us felt that way, but Chris.
Oh yeah,
Chris loved it.
I had to. I had to keep eating it. One I've never had before too. I did like it, but the best part was, so we did the live show, which was yesterday's episode, and Adam goes on stage talking about the salmon and the moose. And he's like, yeah, the salmon, I had it day of. I thought it would be great, but just tastes like salmon. And I've never seen a crowd turn on Adam so fast.
Yeah.
And then Adam doubles down and says, also, the moose was gross. And I thought Adam was going to get stuff thrown at him. They really were upset.
It was a partisan crowd in a tough part of Anchorage in a honky-tonk.
Yeah.
And those guys did not like my moose salmon.
And then after the show, they were coming up to me like, so... how'd they cook the moose? They got to tell me everything. Like maybe they did it wrong. Like they were really concerned that Adam didn't care for the moose.
You are not trying to ingratiate yourself into this group.
Hey, I'm a truth teller.
Yeah.
And I was getting paid and I wanted to leave.
Yeah.
But I'm a truth teller. I didn't know that 97% of Anchorage audience members would love moose. I thought
What's up, Naples? What's up with your pizza?
They're so into moose and salmon. Like I thought, talking to people in Anchorage, if we said salmon, they'd roll their eyes like, oh yeah, not salmon again.
Local fare.
Oh, they love it. They're so into it. They're so proud of it. And
I thought they'd be either a little burnt out on it or they'd treat it like when people would go, oh, we should go down to the La Brea tar pits while I'm in town. Like, there's nothing there. You don't need to go there. Like I thought
your lobster sucks.
like making fun of our street dogs, which we would agree with.
Yes. I thought I didn't know the entire room was that into moose.
They love their salmon and their moose and all that.
So, yes, I hazed the crowd, but the guy who shot the moose was sitting directly behind us.
Yeah.
So we couldn't leave any moose on the plate, even though we weren't really that into the moose, but that's where Chris kicks in.
What about August? He's this
August was
silly.
come see, come saw with the moose, right? It was okay, but they didn't love it.
Yeah, and these were appetizers. We still had like full ribeyes come in. We had like
moose tartare.
We had fish and chips. Like the lodge had really great meals.
Yeah, they made goulash. They made a huge pot of goulash for me. That was great
with moose meat.
It was,
who knows?
God, it was
ribeye,
I think.
Oh. Yeah, there's ribeye.
They made a goulash. We ate it that day. We ate it that night. We ate it the next morning. Like it was just awesome.
Gilding the lily, that ribeye and a goulash.
Right.
know.
Did you all stay in a cabin, or did you have separate? You know, it was like a hotel.
It was a little rooms down a hall kind of thing.
It was a lodge.
It was a lodge. It had rooms.
20 rooms.
Yeah, maybe not even. Well, maybe there was an upstairs and stuff. But either way, it was pretty civilized. You know, hot and cold running water and all that, bathrooms and everything.
Did you run into any locals that seemed like they had a past they were running from?
There were some pretty salty characters out at the lodge, but they all seemed pretty more interesting than dangerous.
Yeah. Jean Valjean-esque.
Sure. Yeah. Adam gets that.
And they wanted Les Mis.
Yeah.
There you go.
And they wanted, the doctor who injected Tim McVeigh with the lethal injection was at the next table.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that
Real
guy.
celebrity sighting.
Wait a
That's right.
second. You forgot.
Sonny recognized him immediately.
Big fan of your work.
Wait a second. How did that even come to be known? How does that get worked into conversation?
He leads with it.
Yeah, well, a couple of guys came up to Adam and they were just fans and they were shaking Adam's hand. And as soon as he walked away, the manager at the lodge told us like, "Oh, do you know who that is?" And told us like, "Yeah, he's the doctor that does all the lethal injections for all the high end, high profile death sentences and things."
That's celebrity.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
I forgot about that guy, yeah. And
You didn't go bend his ear?
God, it was like, I got to go bend that guy's ear, and then some point I drank some martinis,
Yeah,
and
that's
Dawson
that.
started playing, and I forgot all about it. Yeah, but there were some salty dudes there, but in a good way, like salty, salt of the earth kind of
Salty of
way,
the earth.
salty of the earth kind of way.
I love it.
Wow.
Speaking of Dawson was going to be my opener at Coots.
Yeah.
I said to Dawson, "That's 20 minutes, man. You're used to doing 6.5." Dawson said, "I got it."
I got it.
Oh.
I said, "All right, well, if you want to go 15, go 15. Dawson said, "I got it." I was sitting up on the upstairs in the green room. Dawson took the stage for the late show on Saturday night. And after about 9 minutes, I thought, I better go down there just to
Check on
see
things.
how we're doing.
Good thing you did, because I ran out of material at 11.
Do some crowd work?
He was getting laughs.
There you go. It's all that matters.
I did do some crowd work. Somebody in the crowd yelled Alan Parsons, and so that added about 2 minutes to my
Good,
set,
good.
because I said that I went to a party at his house, and they had a queue of guests coming in who were announced by this old British guy, "Now entering," and they'd say everybody's name. They made it as British as possible. And I said, so they had everybody waiting in a queue. And then I say to the crowd, the queue, that's what they call a line in Europe. In fact, I remember being in London snorting queues off the back of a toilet, but that's another
Very
story.
good,
And
very
it got
good.
some pretty good laughs.
Yeah, it was good while it lasted. I'm just glad I went down there.
Thank you.
And
Sandman.
I looked to
he
my
called
left
the bullpen,
and I
yeah.
saw you there, and you were like, "All right, you can throw in the towel now." I'm
yeah,
like, thank you.
After I heard you say I'm out of material into a microphone, I
That
thought
was
maybe
closer.
it's time to get up. But that was fine.
That's great.
And the thing that was interesting, which is an interesting observational thing that Sonny possesses. Sonny was a champion the whole time. He
I was
didn't.
about to ask if he was frightened at any point.
No, he went out on the ATVs. He went super
wow.
slow on the ATVs. No complaining, no anything. You say to Sonny, like, at some point you just go, "All right, let's go to bed." And you go, "Okay." He just gets up and he starts walking toward the room. And then at some point you get up in the morning and you go, "Get dressed. We're going fishing." And he goes, "Okay." It's never a negotiation.
Yeah.
It was always like, "Well, what time?" Or, "Well, what do we have to?" Or, nothing. It was just
He's an agreeable boy.
Boy, did my weekend look different.
nothing better than easy, man. Go. We're getting in the float plane. Get in the float plane. Just go. Just get in the float plane. I'm sure he's probably scared of the float plane. Like every single thing we said. Here's where we're going. Here's what we're doing. Just got up and did it. We're going to the club. The club. We did 2 shows on a Saturday night in Anchorage. Finished the second show. Sonny was downstairs selling merch, taking pictures, blah, blah, blah. We got out of there at midnight. We had a 1:35 flight from Anchorage to Seattle. And
Right
then
after the show?
directly after
Oh,
the show,
shit.
just left the club.
Yeah.
We flew from King Salmon
Right.
Airport. We landed in Anchorage at 5 or 5:30 or whatever. We drove straight to the club, sat in the green room, ate a slice of pizza, and then just went downstairs, did 2 shows, did the signings, took the pictures, piled into the Uber, off to the airport at 12:15. Took the 1:35 flight from Anchorage to Seattle, then had an hour layover, and then took the Seattle flight that landed in L.A. at 9:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Up all night. Not a peep out of Sonny. No complaints. No nothing.
I think
Here's what we're
Sonny
doing.
enjoyed it more than a lot of kids his age would. He just sucked it in. At one time, we had like 2 hours before dinner, and we were kind of already starting to get drinks at the bar. But then Sonny says to me, "Dawson, let's go ride ATVs." Yep, let's go.
Yeah, he's super agreeable, super easy, and you just go, here's what we're doing. We're going shooting, get in the van. And I'll go, okay. And he just goes and gets in the van. Like, that's just who he is. I mean, he understands we're going somewhere fun and we're going to do something good, but he's not going to hold people up, and he's not going to. Most kids and all women negotiate everything all the time. Like, well, why don't you guys go ahead and then I'll meet you guys back after. You call me when you're done. Like, there's none of that. Just go get in the van. Boom, in the van. We go do it. But had this interesting exchange, just when we were standing on the bear platform looking down on the bears. There's all these people. Sometimes they bring their kids and stuff. And he overhears one guy talking. And he goes, "Oh, it's the bear, just like at the sports chalet." And Sonny remembers that there was a sports chalet in La Cañada. Now, there were sports chalets everywhere because it was a chain, but he only remembers the one in La Cañada, which is turned into a Whole Foods now. It's kind of
poetic.
Like it used to be selling skiing equipment and hunting equipment, and now it's selling Sprouts.
Yeah.
But so he just says to the guy, "Sports chalet," and the guy's like, "Yeah." "La Cañada," and the guy goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "You from La Cañada?" And he goes, "Yes." "You from La Cañada?" "I was born in La Cañada." "What's your name?" "My name's Sonny Carolla." "Is your dad Adam Carolla?" "Yes, he is." "Do you know Mark Geragos?" "Yes, Mark Geragos is good." "I grew up with Mark Geragos. His brother was my best friend. I grew up in La Cañada." So next thing you know, we got this guy traveling around with us. He pulls out a challenge coin. You want to talk about a contrast in dads. He's a 60-year-old guy who carries around his dad's challenge coin.
Wow.
His dad is the first guy to pilot the SR-71 Blackbird, like arguably the greatest plane ever created in aviation history, an incredible feat out of the Skunk Works in Lockheed.
This is bespoke. This has his name on it, National Aviation Hall of Fame.
Why you have it?
Why do I have it? Because I brought it in to show you guys today.
But I mean, how did you get it?
He handed it to me. He travels with challenge coins with his dad's name on it.
Fucking dude is a test pilot.
He was a test pilot who flew every SR-71 that came off the production line.
That's pretty badass.
People don't understand that plane was so hairy. When you piloted that plane, you did it in a full astronaut gear. That's full gear. The guys landing on the moon, that's what you wore to pilot that plane. That plane flew faster than a bullet. And this is in the 60s.
Sure.
I mean, it's the craziest plane ever built. Like, it was just a stunning aeronautical achievement for the late 50s, early 60s.
It looks like a supervillain's plane.
Yes, and they'll never make another plane that way ever again because we needed to fly that thing over Russian territory and take pictures. The baddest ass plane in the world was armed with a camera.
Right.
That's all it ever had. It would fly at, 2,000 miles an hour over territories, and the missiles that they had set up to protect their sites could never get to the plane. the plane was so fucking fast that
It would outrun the missiles.
It'd outrun the missiles. It
There's
would-
one of those on display outside of the Natural History Museum by the Coliseum downtown.
Yeah, it would outrun a bullet. They'll never do it again because now we have satellites.
Right.
So we don't need it anymore. But long talk about the SR-71 and how proud his dad was. I told him I bought my dad a trumpet. I don't have the coin on me, but I got to find that. It's just me pulling my pockets out.
Sure,
Right.
yeah.
Shrugging. Yeah.
Shrugging.
A little mom
And it's
falling out.
got a horn with a cobweb on it
Yeah.
down at the lower right hand of it. I got to get those
A
coins.
musical note flipped over.
That's right. But then, and this is one of those, who cares? But it was a long conversation about the SR-71 and this guy's dad. And first email I got when I got back to L.A. was a friend of the show, Charles, sending me a link to Kelly Johnson, the guy who created the SR-71, talking about how this was the greatest plane ever. Not connected to this guy at all. Just 24
Bizarre.
hours later, I get a link to the guy who created the SR-71.
It's crazy.
While the challenge coin is like sitting in my pocket of my sweatpants.
There's a chance that Charles was on the entire trip following you.
And we didn't know it.
From a 30-foot distance.
That's a
Pink
very
Panther.
good point. So,
Don't laugh at that.
but it was interesting. I was talking to Geragos about at the wedding because Geragos loves Sonny because Sonny's got his little brain moving all the time and he's trying to connect everything all the time. So he hears a guy say sports chalet and then he starts going down this road where he's trying to connect things.
Well, and
And
what are
then
the odds it's that sports chalet?
Yeah, there's everywhere.
in Sonny's mind, quite high because that's the only one he's aware of. Although
Right.
he knew it was a chain. I'm just saying, if you kind of leave your mind open and neutral, and you kind of connect thoughts and ideas and things like that, you can arrive
Yeah.
at things. And next thing you know, we're hanging out with this guy and we're talking about his dad, and I got another challenge coin out of the deal. Let's see. What are we missing? We want to thank Matt Norman from the King Salmon Lodge, who brought us out there and was just a great host.
To hell with that guy. How are the shows? I'm kidding about it.
Yeah,
Very
great
nice of
guy.
him, yeah.
Shows were great. Audiences were great. Real Coots is a real like old timey kind of honky tonk.
Oh, I love that.
It is honky tonky in that place, but all on brand and perfect.
You got to do a what can Adam complain about paprikash.
Oh, can I ask what actually happened? We were supposed to be on one of the shows with you,
Yeah.
and we got a text at the last minute saying there was some technical.
Yeah,
something.
so
Broke a piece of equipment.
We use
I
a
think.
special mixer to zoom you guys in, and it works so you guys can hear Adam, and obviously we get you, and we can record it all. And it just wouldn't turn on, no matter where we plugged it or how we plugged it in. So we had to use a different way to record the show, and unfortunately, with that, we couldn't zoom you guys in.
Well, I'm twofold pissed because not only did I want to be part of the show, but I ended up at Boss Baby 2 because I no longer worked. And by far the greatest part of that movie was my first time in a reclining seat in a movie theater.
Oh yeah.
That was I've never experienced the luxury.
How's that possible?
I don't know, but it is luxurious, and that was my favorite part of the movie.
Our host Matt, who's my age, looks exactly like Jim Youngblood, NFL Hall of Famer,
Rams.
former Rams. No one had ever told him that up
You're-
until that point.
Oh, so later on, this made me insane. So that night, he's like, "Oh, what football player did I look like again?" We were just talking at the bar, and I couldn't remember the name because I didn't know Jim Youngblood.
I just walked up to him and went, "You look exactly like Jim Youngblood." And then Chris pulled up a picture and we held it next to his head or whatever. But
And he's
yes,
if he's your age, he would have been like a teenager when he played, right? Or a youngish, probably when alive.
Jim is 71 now or something, but he still just looks exactly like Jim Youngblood. And they're
Yeah.
both 30. They look the same.
Youngblood is 71 now. But yeah, and totally looked alike. But so I'm talking to Matt, the manager at the King Salmon Lodge. Like, we're trying to figure out what football player it was because he's trying to tell his friends, like, "Oh, so Adam thinks I look like this guy." And I couldn't remember the name. And I kept going, like, I think his name's Jim Young. Jim Young. And Matt's just like, "No, something else." And then I'm not kidding. 10 seconds later, Matt's phone rings and he looks at it, and a guy named Jim Young is calling him. And he just presses end and just continues to talk to me. Didn't mention anything at all. And I was like, how weird is that?
That is weird.
Like, Jim Young calls him, doesn't say anything, just continues like, "So, what do you think of Alaska?"
You guys were really in the land of the Great Magnet.
I
So
know.
far north,
Yeah,
poles.
probably a vortex or something.
I was, reminds me of a million years ago. I was in my friend's kitchen, Mark Dropman, when we were at the Acme Comedy Club. haven't told the story in a while, but he had a picture of a friend of his, like on his refrigerator back when people would do that. And the chick looked like Janis Joplin, exactly like Janis Joplin. And I said, look at that. Hey, your friend looks exactly like Janis Joplin. And he went, oh, trust me, she's no Janis Joplin like me. She probably didn't drink or she didn't sing or whatever. He went, trust me, no. And I, just being a smart ass, just pointed at the guy next to him and go, well, he's no Bobby McGee. And he goes, his name is Bob McGee. That's her husband.
Wow.
And I was like,
Anyway.
wow.
Are you kidding me?
But Jim Young called and Matt didn't care.
Didn't
That's
care.
the beauty. But that's how you go through life not knowing you look like Hall of Famer Jim Youngblood.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, because when we were able to pull up those pictures, it was striking.
Yeah, there wasn't a TV anywhere in this lodge, and I doubt they cared about sports or anything like that.
Yeah, there's nothing. You'd go a long time without TV or really anything. The cell phone stuff was pretty spotty. Everything was kind of catch as catch can technically, and that's the way it should be. You think you want all your shit. You don't want all your shit. Had no idea of like, somebody walked into a spa with his dick hanging out and terrorized a bunch of because he identified as a woman. It's like, yeah, it's all gone.
Doesn't matter.
We're going fishing.
That's my spa, by the way. And talk about not knowing what time it is. You don't have a care in the world. You don't know shit because there's no way to tell. The sun doesn't give anything away what time it is.
Everybody get to Alaska once in your life. You will thank me.
Well, let's tell Parker I am so down for an Alaskan cruise at some point.
Yeah, that would be
Sounds
awesome.
pretty sweet.
Yeah.
All right. We got Dr. Stephen Gundry, who's cardiac surgeon, is going to tell us about, the book is called The Energy Paradox. What to do when you get up and, when your get up and go has got up and gone. We'll talk to him about all that. First, I'll tell you about X Chair. Your office chair. Can it give you a massage? Can it warm you? Can it cool you right in your back where you need it? Well, mine can. I love my X Chair. I had an X Chair before they gave me this next generation X Chair just because it's a great office chair. The secret is their patented DVL, dynamic variable lumbar support, and it's got a feature that does cooling, does heat, does massage therapy. X Chair. You're going to spend a lot of time in your chair. Let's make it a good chair. Let's make it a X Chair. 4 different massage modes and fast warming and heat technology as well. Feel the X Chair difference and do it for yourself. Trust me. It's the X Chair, right, Dawson?
X Chair prices are going up on July 11th for the first time in 2 years, so beat the price increase. Go to xchairadam.com now. That's the letter X, chair, ADAM.com. Or call 1-844-4XChair and get $100 off on your order. X Chair has a 30-day guarantee of complete comfort, and you can finance your purchase with as little as $30 a month. Go to xchairadam.com now and use code XWheels for free X wheel blade casters. xchairadam.com.
All right, we'll talk to the good doctor right after this.
In the spirit of Murrow, Jennings, Cronkite, here's another great moment in local news.
I'm with KHOU, just wondering what is it like seeing this right now?
Shit, you tell me.
That's a great moment in local news. Now, back to the Adam Carolla Show.
Dr. Stephen Gundry has joined us. He's a former cardiac surgeon and best-selling author. The series, Plant Paradox. This is the 6th book in the series. Also has a podcast on called the Dr. Gundry podcast, excuse me. And you can listen to that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Podcast One as well. Good to talk to you, Doctor.
Nice to see you.
So,
looking group you got there.
Yeah, we're so let's talk about energy. Let's talk about your gut. Let's talk about microbiomes and all that good stuff.
Good idea. Where do you want to start?
Well, I feel like the gut is where the brain was at 10 years ago or something. We didn't study the brain that much, and then we started studying the brain. And the gut just felt like so much viscera that was beneath the brain. And now we're starting to realize that the gut has so much to do with everything. And I think we probably thought that the brain regulated the gut, but now we're starting to think maybe the gut regulates the brain. Is that correct?
You're absolutely right. I had the former head of the FDA on my podcast a few months ago, and we were reminiscing that back when we were in medical school, we basically thought intestines was a hollow tube, and that you ate proteins and carbohydrates and fats, and they magically got absorbed. And then what wasn't absorbed, was pooped out as crap, and that was about all there was to it. And lo and behold, it turns out that that simplistic view was actually 180 degrees wrong, that the gut that we've now learned is really the home to probably the most important organ in the body, and that is the microbiome, these hundreds of trillions of bacteria and viruses and fungi that we now know controls almost everything that's going to happen to us, including the way our brain thinks, including the amount of energy that we have. And it's actually taking care of what the microbiome wants to eat that ends up taking care of us. And, it's been a revelation to everyone. And, a good friend of mine, Dr. Heyman, who's a psychiatrist, is now convinced that most mental health issues have very little to do with the brain itself, but has to do with the microbiome's effect on the brain. And we certainly found that in my practice as well. If we change the microbiome, we can change people's energy levels, depression, anxiety. It's a big game changer. You're right.
What are some of the common mistakes that people make as it pertains to the microbiome stuff?
Great question. So one of the things, if you look at the microbiome of hunter-gatherers, for instance, who are out, in nature, one of the most classic examples is the Hadza in Tanzania. And these guys are incredibly healthy. They walk, 8-10 miles a day. They have a very diverse microbiome. What does that mean? It means that instead of, a few different bacterial species, they literally have thousands and thousands of different bacterial species. It's like a tropical rainforest with all these different creatures. You look at American or Westernized microbiome, and it's looking basically at a barren desert. The reason for that is multiple factorial, but one of the most important things is we are awash in antibiotics. We take antibiotics for any little niggling, scratchy throat, runny nose, even though those are caused by viruses. And we thought that antibiotics didn't bother our gut because we didn't know that all these bacteria were down there. But antibiotics not only kill whatever you think you're taking the antibiotic for, but now we know that antibiotics destroy the microbiome as well. Plus, for the last 50 years, we've been feeding antibiotics to all of our animals that we eat. Almost all of our chickens, our pigs, our beef is fed antibiotics to make them grow faster. And little did we know that those antibiotics are also in the meats that we eat. So it's kind of a twofold effect. We've pretty much destroyed our microbiome. And if you think about burning a rainforest down to the ground, the rainforest doesn't grow back just by planting a few new trees. And it can take a huge amount of time to get our microbiome diverse again the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah, you hear people talking about drink this yogurt, probiotic, this and that. Well, first things first. Dr. Drew always says no free lunches in nature. So you have something in you. You take a bunch of antibiotics to kill it. The story doesn't end there.
Yeah. Right.
We always think
Correct.
that way, but nature just has this way of sort of checkmating all the time. It's just you do this, it does that. There's just, it's never you do this and that's
Happily
that.
ever after.
No, there's always something. It's usually downstream a little bit, you know, all the Purell, all the cleansing, all the washing, all the sanitizing, all this stuff. It all sounds like a great idea for a while. And then at some point, the studies start coming in, you know, a decade down the road, and we've compromised our systems. I've always kind of felt that your immune system needs to work out just like every other system you have, just like, you know, your muscles or your, you know, they talk about Alzheimer's and people that do crossword puzzles that doesn't set in as fast. You're working your brain out. I'm worried that we're not working out our immune system.
That's actually a very good point. It turns out the immune system, about 80% of all of our white blood cells, all of our immune cells, line the gut. And so they're all down there in our belly. And that's because we now know that mischief is going to come across the wall of our gut, almost like invading hordes coming across the Great Wall of China, for instance. And so the wall of our gut is our last defensive mechanism of things coming across that we don't want. So our immune system is actually there to prevent that. But what's really exciting is that if you've got a normal set of bacteria, the bacteria actually talk to the immune system and say, hey guys, we're your defense against mischief makers. We've got your back. You know, go have a donut and a cigarette, and we've got this. But what's happened to most of us is our bacterial microbiome has been so decimated that we've got a bunch of gang members in there. And it's no wonder that our immune system goes, holy cow, I don't know who these guys are. They're not our friends. They're not the good guys. We got to arm up. We got to get, you know, every one of us needs flak jackets and Uzis. And any mischief maker that comes across, we're going to shoot to kill. Let me give you an example that I use in the energy paradox. I'm old enough to remember when there was no such things as peanut allergies. Everybody took peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to school. We had peanuts on airplanes, and nobody was dying of peanut allergies. It turns out, as I've written about before, that about 95% of us are born with a preformed antibody to the peanut lectin, a protein in peanuts. And yet, long ago, none of us reacted to peanuts. Now, of course, kids are sent to school with EpiPens in case, you know, somebody happens to open up a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. What happened? Well, it turns out that 50 years ago, our bacterial population told our immune system, hey, yeah, we know that you're interested in peanuts, but it's okay. You don't have to get your panties in a wad. Just relax. Now, unfortunately, our immune system is on hyper alert because of the changes in our gut. And so when they see an innocent little peanut protein, they go, oh my gosh, you know, we got to kill that. And that's actually what's been happening with COVID. Normally, our immune system would not be on hyper alert. And it's the people who have pre-existing conditions who are most susceptible to COVID. And guess what? Pre-existing conditions are actually caused by a breakdown in the gut interface with our immune system.
Gina,
and that's what...
Yeah, I'm so curious, especially as so many of us hear about this more and more. When you talk about the peanut and sort of overreacting, the body overreacting, I thought gluten. And I'm very curious what you think of gluten sensitivities, if it follows on that same principle. And then another phrase that is new to all of us, which is leaky gut.
Correct. Yeah, so we now know. I mean, if you had asked me 20 years ago about leaky gut, I would have laughed you out of the room. But leaky gut is real. One of my colleagues, Dr. Fasano, who's now at Harvard, has recently written a paper that said all disease begins with leaky gut. And that's just a paraphrase of Hippocrates saying 2,500 years ago that all disease begins in the gut. And for the last 20 years of my career, I've been looking at people's leaky gut. You can measure it. And in fact, if you have diabetes, you have leaky gut. If you have heart disease, you have leaky gut. If you have dementia, you have leaky gut. What I've concentrated on is autoimmune diseases. So if you have Hashimoto's, if you have lupus, if you have rheumatoid arthritis, you choose it, you have leaky gut. Now, gluten is a lectin, which I mentioned about in peanuts, which causes leaky gut. And Dr. Fasano's work has proven that gluten is one of the major causes of leaky gut. But there are tons of people around the world that eat gluten without any particular problem. Why do they get away with it and we don't? Because they have a normal microbiome. That, believe it or not, there are bugs that like to eat gluten. And they think gluten's delicious. Unfortunately, we've killed off those bugs. So we're kind of set up for gluten. And one of the things that potentiates the problem with gluten is glyphosate. Now, many people have heard that word, but if they haven't, Roundup. Roundup is glyphosate.
The weed killer.
The weed killer. And it turns out that glyphosate is one of the best ways to produce leaky gut that anybody has ever designed. And nobody told us that because glyphosate actually was patented, not as a weed killer, but as an antibiotic.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. Monsanto's patents, it's an antibiotic. And so people who take, and glyphosate is everywhere. It's in almost all of our food. It's in almost all of our wines. Most California wines have glyphosate in it. Right. And even some of our organic products are loaded with glyphosate because it's been sprayed on fields as a desiccant, not as a GMO product. So most of our wheat has been sprayed with glyphosate. Most of our oats, most of our canola, most of our soybeans, all have been sprayed with glyphosate. And we are washing it.
I got a question, Dr. Buzzkill. I've always said anecdotally, I hold no degrees. I know nothing of medicine, but I would always just kind of observe things. And I've said for a million years, how come every guy I work construction with, I'm talking poor Latin guys, when it came time for a lunch run, there was no details about
modifications,
gluten or peanuts or anything. These guys sat on a pile of drywall. Some of them brought in a stack of tortillas. I work with a guy whose wife harvested cacti from the hills of Burbank and put it in a stew with some bouillon and onion in there. They'd slop it onto the tortilla. And they would eat with their hands. They wouldn't go wash their hands. Nobody would Purell, nobody anything. I would always be like, how come these guys aren't allergic to anything? How come they don't have issues? How come they can't? That none of them ever said, I don't eat this, or I can't eat that, or this doesn't agree with me. And then I would head back to civilization with the rich white people and hear all the problems that their 9-year-olds have with the myriad of things they were allergic to. And I thought there's got to be some connection to these guys kind of living outdoors, working with their hands, not shying away from elements or food elements and them being so robust or hardy. We used to kind of chalk it up to, well, that guy's poor. He just has to eat what you give him, and that person's rich. They have choices. But it's a lot more than that. Do you agree?
Oh, yeah. But your point is well taken. I've had a number of occurrences where we have patients with a number of autoimmune diseases, and we cure them of their autoimmune disease by fixing their diet, by fixing their gut microbiome. And then they go over to Europe and go on vacation, and they're eating pizzas and they're eating breads, and they come back and they go, oh, this is great. I'm cured. I don't have a gluten problem anymore. Look at that. And then they come back to the United States and they eat our breads and our pizzas. And within a couple of weeks, their autoimmune disease is in full blossom. And, they call me up and say, what the heck? I thought I was cured. And I said, oh, no, you weren't eating the glyphosate over in Europe. And you were, their foods hadn't been treated with all the stupid chemicals that we have. So you got fooled into thinking that you could eat the same, quote, food over here, but it is not the same food anymore.
Well, Brian has a question, but I have a question he's going to like more.
Let's hear it.
I was eating dinner last night, and I just ordered a glass of wine, and the person I was eating dinner with said, you should just get the stuff from Italy. Don't get the California stuff. And I said, well, what's the difference?
Sulfates?
And it was like, sulfates or whatever. But just on a practical level, talking about your European vacation analogy, if one just goes out to dinner and is looking at ordering a glass of red wine, should we just make it an Italian wine versus a California wine?
So, great question. Obviously, I'm from California, so I want to promote our state products. There are a number now of California wines that are grown organically or biodynamically. Europe is way ahead of us. France and Italy have huge numbers of biodynamic and organic wines. So in general, you're actually temporarily still safer with Italian wines, with French wines, with Spanish wines, with Portuguese wines. Even Argentinian or Chilean wines are safer. But if you can find and look for them, organic or biodynamic California wines, you'll be in great shape.
Yeah, it's just the waitress at the Chili's doesn't know.
No,
can't make
that's
that fine
true.
distinction.
Between a Chianti.
No,
Brian,
get a Chianti. Get a Chianti. In fact, I actually go around the world spending time with winemakers, finding out what they do, how they do it. And Chianti is actually a great wine to order, and you can find it in any restaurant. And everything over there is organic. They wouldn't think of putting glyphosate on anything.
we're so ugly. Oh, Brian, you had a question?
I apologize to everyone for the personal question, but you really piqued my interest, doctor, because I am on chemotherapy. I'm pretty immunocompromised right now, and I imagine. Is there anything you would recommend? My white blood cell count is pretty low, so I'm pretty, susceptible to disease and infection or whatever. I'm curious if there's anything if you've had patients who have been in this situation or people who are listening, maybe who are in a similar situation, what would you recommend? Supplements or diet? I should point of order. I should tell you I'm full keto.
Gotcha. Well, so a full keto diet is very, very useful for cancer therapy. I have a chapter on my version of the keto diet in every one of my books, including the energy paradox. But one of the exciting things in cancer work is not only the keto diet, but the more we can actually improve your microbiome through prebiotic fiber. Now, prebiotic fiber, a lot of people who eat keto think that, oh my gosh, I got to avoid all plant material, et cetera. I just, have to have 12 steaks and five things of sour cream every day. That's actually not how to do a keto diet.
No, please. I'm all for vegetables or whatever. Tell me what I should do.
So you really want to have fibrous vegetables. For instance, artichokes are probably one of the best prebiotic fiber that you can eat. Seriously. Asparagus is another great prebiotic fiber. A class of vegetables that are called chicory family, like radicchio, that Italian red lettuce that you now see. Chicory, Belgian endive, these are all great sources of prebiotic fiber. And what's really exciting in cancer chemotherapy is that you can actually improve your response to chemotherapy by improving your bacterial diversity in your gut. And it's really exciting stuff. A friend of mine, Dr. Walter Longo from USC, has actually shown that when people are put on a calorie-restricted, high prebiotic fiber diet during chemotherapy, that the response to their cancers is superior than if this wasn't added to them.
Oh, wow. That's great information. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let me piggyback on that in a way. I am not trying actively to get pregnant. I never have. But I'm in a lot of these keto groups and stuff on Facebook, and a lot of them say, well, I'm pregnant, and I'm hearing, and please don't get that drop.
That's a good drop.
Please don't. But I'm seeing in a lot of these groups such an intersection of the keto diet and being able to conceive. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, 80% of Americans are insulin resistant or
Little freeze.
Oh, we just had a
Damn,
snafu.
I really want to know.
Yeah.
Call the doctor in your free time.
I'm going to stupid internet. I'm going to
We love him, though. It was interesting.
let him finish that. I'm also just going to ask him my sort of breakfast, lunch, and dinner question that I always ask all people that are experts in diet. But yeah. And then the question is how do you reverse the people that grew up with all the antibiotics?
Me. Snackwell's antibiotics. I mean, that was how I was raised.
No peanuts. Not
Yeah.
you per se, but people like that.
Yeah, I've literally never took an antibiotic my entire life. So I never, it's probably...
Even after your hernia surgery? Usually after surgery.
They probably crushed it up in his pudding. He didn't know.
I was the kind of person that if they give me the 10-day thing, I'd take it for 2 days, and then I'd just kind of wander off.
They do not recommend that.
Yeah, they don't like that.
Plus, once I saw that martini glass with the X
That's
through
right.
it on the
No,
bottom, I was
you know,
like,
holding it away.
This
Come
ain't,
on, man.
It's not getting out of the
It's a
car.
Wednesday.
And as Arrested Development says, she took that as a winking-eyed suggestion to drink.
Yeah, again, it's all anecdotal, but I grew up just sort of poor, and I didn't have a doctor, and parents were kind of laissez-faire, and it just you got sick, you wrote it out, you got whatever you got, you just got it, and you just fucking laid in bed, maybe a little Vicks vapor rub or something.
Chicken soup.
Yeah,
Or orange juice. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Home remedy.
There was
were
nothing.
given-
I was barely an aspirin in my house.
Brian, are you familiar with, because I know many people will be when I say this, the pink, it looked like Pepto-Bismol, the pink bubblegum flavored antibiotic for kids.
Yes.
We were.
Oh yeah, I do
It
remember
was
that.
tamped down our throat like we were, getting a fat liver
That's
for
weird.
goose.
I haven't thought about that in 30 years.
The 80s, you get those. You get it was like a syringe with a spoon on the end, and just guzzle that down.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a little bit of kaopectate, I remember. There was just nothing. There was no Tums. There was no Tylenol. There was no
That was
antibiotics.
not a Jewish house.
There was nothing. And
Many
so,
reasons.
like, whatever you got, you just got it.
Right.
If you had an upset stomach, then you had an upset stomach, or a sore throat, you had a sore throat.
You
And
wouldn't even get 7-Up or ginger ale. They couldn't swing
no,
that.
and I wish there was some chicken soup nearby, but that's how I grew up. And then I went from there to just sort of drinking out of the hose and eating, stuff in apartments off the floor and stuff. And it was never a thing. I would eat stuff that was, my friend had a See's candy. Remember the See's candy giant egg? See's Candy made
Yeah,
an
chocolate egg?
Easter
Like
egg
Easter,
that
yeah.
was like an oversized
Oh,
with like
yeah.
nougat or
Like the
whatever.
golden goose.
It's like a Nerf football.
He had
Right.
one sitting on his windowsill for 7 months. I just ate it. Because I didn't have any money. Everything was just sort of stuff that went, if the Chinese food sat in my friend's fridge for more than 4 days, I could eat it. There was like everything I ate was old and close to expired.
Yep.
And like then as an adult, there'd be like some cheese with mold on it, and I'd just like eat it, or just take my finger, pop
Penicillin.
off the mold, and then eat it. And everyone was always like, "Oh, gross!" And I was always like, "It's fine. It always tastes fine."
I'll never forget when I brought you some soup that I made, and I felt kind of like a little nervous or a little like disappointed because it had been like 4 or 5 days and you hadn't eaten it. I'm like, well, I'm sure they're going to throw it away. And like a week and a half, 2 weeks later, you're like, just had that soup. It was great.
Yes.
I was like,
Beer-bonged it.
no way. That has
funnel,
been
but
sitting in the fridge for like 2 weeks.
if it was in the fridge, it's good
it's
for
good.
forever. Yeah.
Didn't we pay a shitload of money for internet that would never go down?
Yeah, we did. It's not up yet.
Well, I don't know if that's his or...
It's 100% ours.
Oh, it's ours.
Just Google probiotic fibrous vegetables, then we're offline.
Oh, okay. Well, how'd that work,
I don't
Kaylin?
think it's ready yet.
Oh, we didn't...
We're still in the process of getting it together.
Oh, we are.
They said it would take like a month.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Well, I'm trying to think. We can't... I mean... we got the news coming. Dawson's got a story. He's on line one.
Oh, good.
Doctor?
Yeah.
Sorry. We're still trying to get our internet stuff worked out.
You were giving an answer to all these people that seem to be able to miraculously conceive after being on keto.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things we see is that I make a joke that when we're misbehaving in the way we eat, we're often voted off the island. And we see a number of men and women, men with low testosterone or low sperm counts, and women who can't conceive when we change their diet, when they no longer what's called insulin resistant or pre-diabetic. That lo and behold, a man's sperm count goes up, a man's testosterone goes up, and lo and behold, often the woman is able to get pregnant. Now, it's not 100% of the time, but it is remarkable that, like Adam was saying when we first started, in a way you can't fool Mother Nature. And there are things that we're beginning to learn about how powerful really the normal forces are in our body that we're pretty much totally unaware of. But when we start kind of correcting course corrections, that things start working again. And that's actually why I do what I do. It's actually exciting to watch.
Last question for you, Doctor. I always just ask, whether we're talking to a doctor or nutritionist, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What do you like? What do you like? What do you recommend? What's a good way? Is there a difference between somebody who's trying? I'll give you two scenarios.
Sure.
I am not compromised because I never took antibiotics. I just grew up poor and I say shit off the ground and I'm older. Gina's younger and more compromised because she's of a generation where they were handing that stuff out like Halloween candy. Mm-hmm. So maybe what Gina needs is different than what I need. And maybe she's looking to repair, whereas I'm looking to maintain or some version of that. Mm-hmm. Can you speak on that in a kind of breakfast, lunch, and dinner point of view?
Well, one of the things that's interesting, breakfast is actually a very modern invention. It didn't really start until the Industrial Revolution of the previous century. Nobody ate breakfast. And if you actually follow hunter-gatherers, no hunter-gatherer society eats breakfast. Why? Because there's no storage system. You didn't wake up and crawl out of your cave and say, what's for breakfast? There wasn't any. You had to find it.
No way to store
in general,
the food.
The more we can have people skip breakfast, the better they do, just as a general rule. And as I talk about in the energy paradox, a corollary to that is that the more we can compress the amount of time that you eat during the day, what's called the eating window, when you start and when you stop, if you can compress that down to about 6 to 8 hours per day, which means a 16 to 18-hour window of not eating, and the good news is sleep, you don't eat, hopefully, the better your health. In every possible measuring device, in the energy paradox, the current book is really how to teach people how to compress that eating window.
And that's considered intermittent fasting to...
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another word for intermittent fasting. Correct.
So, all right. Yeah, I say breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Just it's colloquially, but I don't do the breakfast either for the most part.
Yeah, so breakfast is nothing.
Right. Well, I have a cup of coffee with some cream in it.
Yeah, a cup of coffee is great. Yeah.
And I'm a little bit of a broken record here, but people have so much crazy gypsy lady thinking about like, I get up, I can't leave the house because if I don't eat something, then I'll start crashing out at 10 a.m., or the kid's got to get food in his belly. It's got to be hot because then he's going to go to class. It's going to be low blood sugar.
There was a whole McDonald's campaign where the guy was like, don't talk to me until I have my coffee. Don't talk to me. And then once he had his coffee, he could start his day.
Right. So there's this whole sort of mythology about breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And you got to get food in your belly.
Kellogg started that. That's correct. They actually, Kellogg's and the United Fruit Company, Chiquita Banana, in the early 1900s, Kellogg's Corn Flakes was invented in 1906. They paid doctors to tell people that the most important meal of the day was a bowl of Kellogg's Corn Flakes with a sliced banana.
Right.
And doctors were paid to tell people this. And there was absolutely no truth to that then, and there's certainly no truth to it now.
The worst thing that ever happened to society is like bad car analogies. I love cars, but this thing of like, you wouldn't leave your house with an empty tank,
Nothing in the tank.
You got to get up in the morning. You got to put some fuel. You got to put fuel in the tank. Otherwise, you're going to run out of gas on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And everyone's going, oh, now it makes sense. I guess we're automobiles.
You're coasting on fumes.
So,
well, and actually, in the energy paradox, I point out that the studies are actually very impressive. That if you exercise on an empty stomach, you will actually have better performance than if you ate something before you exercise.
You were just talking about that.
Yeah. So,
true.
As far as breakfast, lunch, and dinner, let's just go to lunch and dinner now.
So have a great big salad for lunch. Put an avocado on it. Smother it with olive oil and have some vinegar on it. That's a great lunch. On the other hand, if you read my books in the winter, I don't eat lunch for 6 months out of the year. So I don't eat breakfast. I don't eat lunch. I eat all my calories in a 2-hour window. Yeah. So, and I've been doing that now for 21 years, and so far so good. But
dinner is what?
The key with dinner is you really want to stop eating about 3 hours before you go to bed. And Dale Bredesen, who wrote The End of Alzheimer's, and I have written extensive about this. You've got to give your brain an opportunity to clean itself out every night with what's called a brain wash. And just to get back to basics, your mother used to tell you couldn't go swimming for an hour after lunch because you'd get cramps and die. And there was actually a little bit of truth to that wives' tale. When we eat, huge amounts of blood flow are going to go down to our gut to digest our food. But during sleep, early in sleep, we go through a brain wash cycle in deep sleep. And if all the blood flow is down in your gut digesting your meal, then it isn't available to go out and clean up your brain. And there's really scary data that the closer you eat to bedtime, the more likely you are to suffer from dementia as you get older. And then you won't remember what you ate, and who cares?
So keep the window, just for factual matters, we didn't have a pool or lunch when I was growing up, but I get the reference. Keep the window small. First off, again, breakfast it's one of those things you think you'll miss it. Try it for 4 days. You don't miss it.
And do you know what my replacement for breakfast has become? A big glass of ice water. Icy cold water is what I crave when I wake up in the morning.
It is this, and as far as the energy through the day, it's total nonsense. That thing of put some fuel in the tank or whatever. Since I started skipping breakfast and just coming here and working until the mid or late afternoon, I've no energy issues. When I used to eat a big breakfast, I wanted to take a nap at 1 in the afternoon every day. So keep the window.
And I go into that in the energy paradox, exactly why that happens. One of the worst nutritional advices that ever got started. I eat kind of 6 small meals a day to keep the power going. And I talk about in the energy paradox, that's the worst way to have energy.
Wasn't that all through the 80s? It was all about the tiny meals,
Into
tiny
the
snacks.
90s,
Yeah.
it was drink 10 gallons of water
Right,
and
Grace.
just have little bits of meal, eat a bunch of small meals.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And we kept getting fatter and fatter and tireder and tireder.
right. Yeah, so keep the window small for which you eat, and then do not eat 3 hours, or try to keep it to 3 hours plus before you go to bed. That's interesting in the brainwash.
Very.
And
we got to come up with a new name for that.
yeah, it is, but it's a very interesting thought. We should all listen.
It's interesting. Your brain literally goes through a wash cycle. It's called the glymphatic system, and it literally goes through a wash cycle. And what happens is all those cool toxins that people hear about, like amyloid and tau, that cause Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, they literally get washed out. But if you don't get that wash cycle, it doesn't get washed out.
If you learn nothing else today.
Yeah, just cut it off or stay up all night.
Yeah.
The Energy Paradox is the name of the book. It's available now on Amazon and the podcast. The Dr. Gundry Show podcast, Dr. Gundry podcast. Podcast is available at Apple, Spotify, Podcast One, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much, Doctor. That was enlightening.
Hey, thanks for having me, everybody.
My pleasure. Sorry for the snafu. All right, news is coming up. First, let me tell you about our friends over at Apartments.com. Apartments.com. We've been doing everything from home, working from home, exercising from home, schooling from home, wishing we were anywhere else on the planet from home. Oh, it's ironic but true. With all this extra time inside, we've realized how important it is to make sure our place is the right place. Apartments.com, the most listings, apartments, houses, townhomes, condos. Oh, I wish I had Apartments.com when I was young and looking for places as a swinging bachelor. What a pain in the butt it was. And now there's a hero known as Apartments.com that has entered our lives. With powerful tools like 3D virtual tours, you can explore your new place from exotic locales like your pantry or powder room. Apartments.com, the most popular place to find a place. All right. We got the news with Gina Grad.
I'm assuming you have to take a break.
That was the break.
Break?
Yeah, we're coming back.
Go to the bathroom?
Yeah, coming back from break, yeah.
Hey, Chris, check your clock. Your show clock seems off.
I don't think that's it.
No, it's 2:40 now. Wouldn't it be
Yeah, we
about
started
2 hours?
early.
Do we start 10 minutes early? Or 12 minutes early?
Dawson, how long have we been going?
Looks like that's correct. 20. I
What am I
have to
missing?
do math.
I mean, if you're asking, there must be something.
Yeah, I'm not.
We didn't start
We started at
12 minutes early, is what I'm
18
saying.
on this thing, and we've been going
That
an
doesn't
hour
matter.
and 10.
Oh, you can
I can't
check it and
tell.
adjust it.
Yeah, we'll adjust
Math
it. We'll
is
adjust
fucked
it. Oh,
up.
and okay, here we go.
All right.
Thanks.
Give me the news with Grad, news with Gina Grad, breaking viral, weird crime, protest, politics. Give me news with Gina Grad, stuff they saw on TMZ, Joe Biden, Kamala, meet news with Gina Grad.
The news with Gina Grad.
We're
Well
looking
done,
at
sir.
Matt from the lodge. Now, Matt, that's a current picture of Matt at 57.
Right.
We're looking at Jim Youngblood when he was 29. So there's going to be a little difference, but I'm telling you, I think
see it.
when you find if you find them both at the same age, you go, that's the same dude.
What are you talking
No
about?
better dude to look like than Jim Youngblood. That's all I'm
good
saying.
pull.
Man played Super Bowl with a broken leg. He's a hero.
True.
Stud.
Well, let's pivot from heroes for a second because we haven't, at least in studio, we haven't discussed Bill Cosby being out of prison and being fiercely defended by the person I have gone on record as saying the most intimidating human being I have ever met, Felicia Rashad, who tweeted support
She's a proud
of him.
woman.
Oh boy. She, after Cosby's rape conviction was overturned, she tweeted, "Finally, a terrible wrong is being righted. A miscarriage of justice is corrected." Now, it's not just some random celebrity tweeting this. She's actually a dean at Howard University now at the Chadwick Boseman College of Fine Arts.
I'm going to say not for long.
Well, that's the thing. She is now an educator tweeting these things on a campus that...
She must have fuck me money.
Oh, she got Cosby money, man. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
what about
well, sometimes people don't get kissed
Don't
in,
do
and
quite so well,
you know,
with investing.
that's sometimes somebody owns all the intellectual
Right.
property, or you get screwed out of
The syndication.
or whatever. And she's got to be sitting pretty.
Well, you think between she and her husband, they're kind of Hollywood royalty.
Ahmad
Rashad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she...
Wide receiver for the Vikings.
More importantly, a friend of Michael Jordan.
Oh, really?
Are you shitting me? Michael Jordan did 1,000 interviews. 998 of them were with Ahmad Rashad.
How dare you?
Forgot.
No, they're like tight. They're close.
Having watched Space Jam twice this weekend, I agree with Brian.
Is he in Space Jam?
What was
Michael Jordan.
Ahmad Rashad? I always want to say his first name or his whatever name, Christian name was Sammy White, but that was another guy, I think.
Ahmad Rashad was born Robert Earl Moore.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Then he married Felicia, and she became a Rashad.
And isn't her sister Debbie Allen, or aren't they related?
I don't know, but they should be, because they're the two proudest black women ever to roam the earth. My God, are they proud.
I believe they're sisters.
They should be, because
Okay,
I was
maybe
trying to
Chris
think
can
of Debbie
confirm
Allen.
that.
She's the second proudest woman of color on the fucking planet. They're so proud. But she must have F me money if she's going off on these tirades.
And remember, she's a dean at a college, and on college campuses, very sensitive to rape, to sexual assault.
F me money.
Her apology / whatever retraction was pretty weak.
She walked it back-ish,
Oh, she
saying
did.
she fully supported sexual abuse survivors coming forward.
And she's like, that's their truth.
yeah.
And it's
She
like, well,
also-
what do you really believe, Felicia?
Yeah, she also reportedly sent a letter to students and parents offering a sincere apology. Now Cosby
By the way, Ahmad Rashad, her husband, that was one of the best names that ever left Howard Cosell's mouth.
Ahmad
Rashad. It was a perfect perfect name for him.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking. I
By the way,
just want to confirm the Debbie Allen thing.
he probably started in the NFL as Reggie whatever, and then turned into Ahmad
Rob
Rashad.
Moore, yeah, I think.
And that was 35, 40 years ago. No one gave a shit, by the way. Look, it wasn't like a big deal. I mean, he could probably tell you some story going into Lambeau Field and somebody yelling something. But I mean, we as a nation, we're like, all right, the guy changed
once
his
Muhammad
name.
Ali broke through that.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
Well, now Cosby's defending Felicia, saying they must support her right to free speech. Also, Cosby vehemently denies that his conviction was overturned on a technicality and gave the helicopters buzzing around his house a V for victory sign as he walked in.
Me and Geragos have been talking about this for a long
I
time.
bet.
It seemed like this was, I guess, a foregone conclusion, because you just can't do what they did. They just said, we're going to have this civil deposition, and we're not going to use it in any legal. We're not going to use it in a criminal case. We're just going to use it here, and that's what the prosecutor said. And then they used it in a criminal
But that's
case.
so insane. Like, how is that possible? You admit to everything, and they can't do anything about it?
Yeah, it's fucked up.
He admitted it.
Well, the problem is, I think, because then you you always get in this world where it's like you find yourself defending, Derek Chauvin, but you're not defending Derek Chauvin. You're just saying it doesn't meet the criteria for murder.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so you're getting in this weird world where you find yourself defending people you don't like who did things you hate. But then comes the legal part of it.
Right.
Mark deals with it all the time. So how could you defend Scott Pearson? Who's defending that? How could you defend Trump? How could you look? The second people don't defend people you don't like,
That's what the system's based on.
the entire system
Scary
goes
society,
away.
yeah.
Everybody. So stop pushing for people you dislike not to have a competent defense.
No, sure, it's
but
just
this
crazy.
But the problem is once prosecutors start saying to defendants, don't worry, you can say what you want here and it will not be used against you.
And then you
Once that line gets all blurred, then people stop saying anything to the prosecutors and now we're fucking with the system.
But he did go for a year and change?
I heard 2 years.
Yeah.
Now the great part is he's got a lawsuit now. Cosby
yes.
does. Well, he was locked up for 2 years.
Wasn't it? Okay, I don't know the exact numbers. It was something like 60 women. Some of them had to have been in California. I imagine you can get prosecuted out here.
I don't know
Janice
if there's
Dickinson.
a statute of limitations.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe.
I would be shocked.
1973, Ahmad changed his name. Well, Ahmad didn't change his name.
You change it to him.
Change
Rob
it to
Moore.
Ahmad, yeah,
Right.
from Robert.
Yeah, changed it. It means Admirable One led to the truth in Arabic. All right. Well, there you go.
It is a smooth name. Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit more about court, and I'm sure Mark has weighed in on this as well. Britney Spears lost her battle to have her father removed from his role as conservator of her estate. Now, this is where I would really like Mark to weigh in, because you read this and you're like, we all heard her, her plea to the judge. Like, how could they just say, not interested, keep him? Like, this is insane. But then you dig a little bit deeper, and I am no expert on this, but this is where some of the fuzziness comes from. Spears' court-appointed lawyer, Sam Ingham, asked the court to replace Jamie Spears with the Bessemer Trust Company of California. So basically, a third party comes in and not her father. According to TMZ, Ingham reportedly only recently filed paperwork requesting that Bessemer be appointed as a co-conservator, which was approved, though the outlet reports that additional paperwork to make Bessemer's role official had not been filed.
Wait, why did she have a court-appointed attorney?
I don't know. That's the other thing I was wondering.
That what happens in these kinds of cases?
Is she not in control of her
You know
money?
what?
I'm just guessing.
That, but also, I think when it comes to family court, you get who you get, like an advocate. That could be it. Ingham had initially.
By the way, you got to listen to. Cosby had the big blustery black attorney who did the thing about the black man has been railroaded. This is a justice for all black men. I'm like, you can't just take that race card and spread it like Dijonnaise over everything.
You can.
We're talking about poor guys with a fourth grade education who were pulled out of a lineup by some woman with cataracts, not rich guy who roofies people.
Yeah,
That's
he's
not
been a rich celebrity for 4 decades.
Yeah,
5?
at least.
And arguably, it's kind of the same OJ thing. Before this, Cosby and OJ weren't the most beloved black men. They were just most beloved humans. Like,
they transcended race.
They were everyone's top 5 of most popular Americans.
Right.
People you like to sit next to on an airplane.
Right.
They were both that. So I don't know if this is exactly once again a black man being railroaded. Kind of thing. I would also kind of say, like, as the attorney, like, maybe he feels that way. Is this the time to trot that one out? Like, stick with the nuts and the bolts of the case and say justice has been served. To get into the whole black man.
But the way things are right now, maybe it felt like a layup to throw that in.
Is that scoring any points with any of the people who think the black man has not met justice, or any of the white people that are cheering on that? Is anyone who's
Sadly,
into
I
this
think it
cause?
is.
You think? Is there a liberal white chick who's hearing him talk about Cosby being another black man
That's
being
true.
railroaded, going, "You go, boy"?
That's true.
Like, I feel like they're going, "Fuck that!" Like,
after raping how many women?
Yeah,
they're not going to. That argument's too flimsy.
You'd piss off more people than
right.
you would. Or then there's Here's two. I don't know if we can find that Maxipad. I don't know. I saw it on TMZ or something. He just made a statement about the black man being railroaded and justice being served.
Right.
And he was lumping Cosby in with all the poor black guys who've been railroaded. But my look at it is half the country is down with the cause. They were marching with Black Lives
Cosby?
Matters, but they're not down with this cause. You've insulted that half
Right.
by lumping them in with every poor black guy that's ever been shot by a cop or whatever. Then the other half doesn't give a fuck. So they don't care. So they're not. I don't know who your audience is for that statement. We'll see if we can find it.
And by the way, remember Felicia Rashad got in hot water before because when they were talking about, but what about all the women? And she goes, forget those other women. Forget them. Forget those women. So she's been standing by him too. So, I mean, she's right up there with, what is it, Camilla? What's his wife's name? Camille.
Yeah.
So with this Britney thing, again, like this is just very like surface what it sounds like. But basically, this sounds like a technicality. Like the paperwork wasn't filed in time.
Yeah.
So I'd be very curious what Mark had to say about that. She doesn't want any conservatorship, of course. She said she's gone through all of her psychiatric evaluation. She underwent tests at multiple times at a small rehab in Beverly Hills, where she was basically on lockdown 7 days a week, but nothing changed, really.
Well, I heard you can get married and you can have a child and you don't have to ask permission for that. And that's all I know.
But you can't have your money.
I guess. I don't know. Just give her fucking money.
I just think it's a real conflict of interest for anyone related to you to be your conservator.
Yeah, it's all weird when your kid starts earning. Although, when you're a parent, you start thinking about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you do kind of go.
Kogan law.
Yeah, I mean, you go, fucking Sonny, you know a lot about sports. You could get yourself a nice cush gig or something.
Yeah.
Start a podcast, like make some money. I fucking like some of that money. And I can do a direct connection. I go, if it wasn't for Pops over here, I mean, who gave you your first microphone, Pop?
You're right. That's exactly right. And I want to walk that back a little. I'm sure there's great family members that are conservatives, but I can tell you when we were going through all this with my dad and we were going to have to go down that road, I begged for a random third party. And they said, oh, but you don't know. They could end up selling his house. I'm like, they know what to do. I don't. I don't do this for a living. Please. I don't want anyone I know involved in this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get why you just want an impartial third party. Nobody ever survives 4th of July weekend with all their digits. And unfortunately, this one is even sadder and scarier. An NHL goaltender died over the weekend after an accident involving fireworks in Michigan. CNN reports that 24-year-old Matisse Kivlenieks, he's of the Columbus Blue Jackets, died from a firework mortar blast and chest trauma. Police told CNN that the chest injury from the fireworks resulted in internal injuries. He was a goaltender for Columbus Blue Jackets of the NHL. He died at a fireworks at a party in Novi, Michigan. So there was this mortar blast. It hit him. The death was ruled accidental after a full autopsy was conducted. Novi Police Department Lieutenant Jason Meyer told CNN that the chest injury was from the fireworks did result in his death. There was another paragraph, I didn't want to confuse things, that said earlier that week, somebody was messing with fireworks and they were all in the hot tub and like it was like coming for the hot tub and they all like ran out as soon as they could and he hit his head. So I don't know if those things were related, but he did die from a chest injury from the fireworks explosion.
There was a big situation out here where there was some guy who was going back and forth to Pahrump or something, buying fireworks in a cube truck and bringing them back and then just selling them. We got to think about it. If you ever drive through L.A., like South Central and stuff, if you drive home on the 110 freeway and you're just driving through, I don't know, Compton, South Central, South Los Angeles on the 110, and you look off to your right, it is a full 4th of July party going on.
Show.
And that ain't in a park or an arena. That's in people's yards.
Some bootleg fireworks.
And they got to get all that shit somewhere. And they basically just go to Nevada, load up, bring them back. The entrepreneurial folks load up with a cube truck, then come out here and then sell it. Maybe we'll get this story tomorrow, but the bomb squad showed up and it blew up the bomb squad truck.
It blew up. Yeah, that's what you're talking about. Yeah, it was at like a detonation, yes, I don't know how to explain what that truck was.
Yes, I don't know all the details. I just know.
But that thing went up.
People get this shit and they go nuts with it. Although I didn't see a lot of ads about not firing your gun in the air, which always depresses me.
Right.
Every year
Don't abandon
in
your
Los
baby.
Angeles, like, don't fire that gun at your baby when you're celebrating on the 4th. Like, so many people have firing guns into the air. Those bullets come down.
Yep. I would have loved for whoever was doing the city of Burbank's fireworks to haul ass to Pahrump one more time, because that shit was disappointing.
Oh, really?
No grand finale. 3 to 4 seconds in between each measly firework. Sad.
I was at Geragos' wedding, so we're his daughter's
Private
wedding.
fireworks
So
show.
we're just hanging with Drew, smoking cigars.
Oh, that's very cool.
Let's do one more.
All right. Well, one more. We will do something about the Olympics. Let's do this one because Sha'Carri Richardson, there's going to be more on that story. Jessica Springsteen, the 29-year-old daughter of Bruce Springsteen, will join the Team USA at the Olympics later this month.
Oh, shooting, archery, something.
Close.
Not the 110 hurdles.
No. Equestrian.
Yeah.
Which is the national...
That's rich girl sport.
That's the U.S. Equestrian, which is the national governing body of the sport, announced that Springsteen, along with Ken Farrington, Laura Kraut, and McLean Ward, will make up the finalized U.S. jumping roster for the Tokyo
I
Games.
feel like that's mostly the horse.
Oh,
I
can
don't
I
want to
give you the
sound like
horse's
a hater
name?
and a douche, but the athlete is the horse in
That's
that
true.
equation.
No, that's true.
Maybe you get credit for training the horse, or you got to get credit for being able to ride the horse,
Right,
and
not
stuff.
fall off.
I have a potentially stupid question. Do the equestrian athletes bring their horses over to Japan
Oh,
from
yeah.
the
Yeah,
U.S.?
they don't just get a
Yeah.
random horse.
Wouldn't it be more competitive?
Look at the
if they
horses they
assigned
got
you
at
a horse?
Griffith Park. It's $14 an hour.
Okay, yeah, exactly. That'll work.
There's that Mexican restaurant they can eat at after.
No, I would feel the same way about the horse as I do with the bobsled competition. Just because Germany can afford one that's made out of composite this and titanium that Mexico could never come up with because they don't have the use of a wind tunnel to test their bobsled. You know what I mean? Well, who's winning?
That's true.
I feel like the sled's winning.
Scientists are winning,
I
yeah.
feel like you do this shit like they did in the great movie Breaking Away. And Breaking Away, they had the mini Indy 500 or
trike,
whatever,
yeah,
but they all got
little
the same
500.
piece of shit Huffy
Yep,
bike,
yep.
and they had to oil it up and tune it up
Yeah.
and true up
See
the
who the
rims
real
and
winner
stuff.
is.
But yeah, you all get on the same horse, and we'll see who wins.
I thought that's how it worked.
Can I give you the name
I
of the horse?
have no idea, but it would seem impossible to think that the rider would be introduced to their horse when they got to
That makes
the
sense,
game.
They can be a little temperamental too. She's riding a 12-year-old stallion named Don Juan van de Donkhoven.
Seems like only yesterday I was winning the Celebrity Pro Grand Prix over there, Toyota. The thing that makes that race great is there's 20 cars. They're all the exact same car, and you still have to select your car from a hat with a number in it, and so it's all the same.
See?
And
like that.
and it's total parody, and that's what makes it great.
That's what I'm talking about.
The second you thought, well, this guy's got the Nas on his, like it'd be over. The whole
Yeah,
the
but
whole
a
thing would be
bobsled
over.
isn't going to rear up on you.
What
Yes.
about using wild stallions, Gina? These would be race or equestrian horses. My question is, and this guy might be stupid and ignorant, do the high jumpers all use the same poles?
Oh, the pole vaulters.
Sorry, pole vaulters. Yeah, high jumpers. Yeah, pole vaulters. They don't
Or
travel
javelins
poles,
or
do
all
they?
that other
I
shit.
bet with the pole vault,
There's got to be some standard.
the pole vault is, I would bet, they go, here's the minimum length or the maximum length. Here is the max. It's probably like a hockey stick. Here's the guidelines.
Oh, it must be
Here's-
made
here's-
to these specifications.
Can't have this much curve on the end.
Right.
You can only put this much tape on it. Can only flex up to X amount of degrees, and then you go get your pole that meets those
You know who,
qualifications. That's what I would
didn't
think.
get that memo? Lamar Luttrell from the end of Revenge of the Nerds, where they design
Yeah.
a javelin
His
that
limp wrist gave him an advantage.
goes along with his
That's
limp
true.
wrist.
It's a limp wrist.
Gave him the
wiggling.
advantage.
Yes. All right, let's bring it home.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news. My body tells me it's time to party.
Gina Grad.
That was the news with Gina Grad.
All right, let me talk about my friends over at Scott'sCheapFlights.com. Scott's Cheap Flights. Travel the world and never pay full price again. People pay way too much for flights. Prices go up, they go down by hundreds of dollars, even in the same day. So you could pay a different price than the person next to you on the exact same flight. They combine technology with a team of flight experts to monitor thousands of routes on major airlines all day, every day. When prices drop, they send members an email and they send them an alert so they'll never miss an amazing deal like to Europe or Japan for less than $300 round trip. On quality airlines, no less. No kickbacks from airlines. Their only goal is to send their members great deals. It's Scott's Cheap Flights, right, Dawson?
Join for free at scottscheapflights.com/Adam and never overpay for flights again. Again, join for free at scottscheapflights.com/Adam. scottscheapflights.com/Adam.
All righty. I want to thank the good doctor. Raleigh, North Carolina, by the way, coming up July 16th, 17th. That's coming up fast. We'll do a live pod there and stand up there as well. You go to adamcarolla.com for all the live shows. And I want to thank Dr. Stephen Gundry for zooming in and then calling in. The Energy Paradox, available on Amazon. And until next time, it's Adam Carolla for, Danny Trejo and Donald Logue coming in tomorrow. I want to thank the KingSalmonLodge.com for hosting us, and Dr. Stephen and Gina and Bald saying mahalo.
Wolverine!